Hello, I want to welcome everybody in for another episode of Rockin with the Brocklin, my podcast where I ramble about basketball and particularly the Nuggets for about an hour. I'm very excited to get this episode out there because today is officially the first day of the postseason in the NBA. The play-in tournament begins today. We'll talk about that a lot coming up, but we had a few Nuggets games since we last chatted about 2 weeks ago. Um, let's get right into it because I'm probably only going to go over the Nuggets games, not really the general NBA regular season games. But so we'll start with the game that we had about 2 weeks ago against the Suns. This game was pretty unusual from a Denver at home perspective. We got down big in the third quarter, going down by 22 at one point. We did not have Jamal Murray for this game. He was injured, and he was injured quite a bit towards the tail end of the regular season. He did come back at the very end. But this was kind of a heartbreaker because we put the Ritz on him in the third and fourth quarter and were able to tie the game and go into overtime, but Kevin Durant just went stupid in overtime. It was truly a good a good effort by the Nuggets to come back, but Durant was truly great, which was really important because the Suns certainly have had their fourth quarter woes this season. They were the worst team historically ever in the fourth quarter this season. I think they did a lot better towards the end, but they had a very net negative rating, which is very unusual for a team above 500. But that's just today's league. Kevin Durant had a really good game. Or well, I don't want to say it was a great game by Kevin Durant, but it was a very clutch game. He did finish with 30 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks. He did, however, have 8 turnovers, which has been an issue when playing against Denver recently for him. But regardless, the Suns were still able to steal that win away from us. Not too much to say on the Nuggets end, except that Reggie Jackson just played like trash. Um, Reggie Jackson has been getting a lot of criticism lately from the Denver fans. I keep up with what they're saying, and I'm part of that too. But I mean, to be fair, he is just our backup point guard. I don't think he should get that much hate, but regardless, his play towards the tail end of the season was a little lackluster, to say the least. Peyton Watson, we'll talk about him a little bit more later, but if you've been keeping up with my podcast, you know how much I love Peyton Watson. He is truly going to be an X factor for us in the playoffs, which start this Saturday. Very exciting. Next game, Timberwolves. We just got wrecked. Nothing crazy about how we lost this game. Again, we were without Murray, and again, Reggie Jackson was very inefficient shooting. He was very good passing the ball. He played well with the second unit coming in, but it wasn't enough, and we got down big. Jokic he had a good game, for Jokic. Not really a great game by his standards or any metric of that, but a little inefficient from the field. He did shoot 13 free throws, which that's pretty standard for some of the players in the league, but for Jokic that's pretty low. This game not having Jamal out there really hurt us. And Minnesota, they played very well. Mike Conley was just on fire. He could not miss from 3. And then on the other side of the coin, Anthony Edwards actually played a really good game, but he was 0 of 8 from 3-point range. It was kind of wild, actually. The Nuggets did kind of at the end resort to doing Hack-a-Gobert against Rudy Gobert. And basically, if you don't know what that means, it's a tactic that isn't as popular as it used to be. But it's basically when a team will intentionally foul a player who is very poor from the free throw line so they can get back in the game, essentially. And the Nuggets were down, so they were like, okay, instead of chancing it where Minnesota was shooting pretty hot from mid-range at least, Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels were really good. But they resorted to that, and obviously it didn't work. They ended up losing by 13. But yeah, that's just kind of a little basketball info for you guys out there. But yeah, this Minnesota looked dominant in this game. They didn't have Karl Anthony Towns. We didn't have Jamal Murray. Both teams losing their second best players. But it was all right. It was not too bad at all, because we had the next game, which was against Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I believe this game was on Easter, March 31st. Happy belated Easter to everybody out there as well. But this game was awesome. I remember I was cooking dinner and I was watching a replay of it, because when I go to church, it was the same time that this game started, at like 1:30 p.m. But it was Cleveland. I mean, they kept it close in the first half, but then they just got blown out of the water in the second half. It was truly a spectacle to watch. This was a masterpiece Jokic game. He finished with a modest 26 points, 18 rebounds, and 16 assists. Just an absurd triple-double coming out from the Joker. Not to mention, he only shot 18 shots, made a 3. He kind of did it all. I don't know. It's crazy to me, because Cleveland has such a solid defense, and they do have a home court advantage in their upcoming playoff series. But it just doesn't matter with this guy. He's just different. Like, oh man, and there were so many fun moments in this game. There were a lot of dunks, a lot of alley-oops. I'll see if I can pull one up right after this. But yeah, it was such a fun game. Reggie Jackson played very well. KCP was on fire from 3. Michael Porter had a good game. We were still without Jamal. But Jokic was plus 37 in this game, which is just absurd. Reggie Jackson, funny enough, was -1. But Christian Brown actually played a decent amount more than Reggie Jackson. He had a solid game overall. Peyton Watson had a good game as well off the bench. His 20 minutes, he had 9 points and 2 blocks and a steal. He's mainly out there for defense, but yeah, a really fun game. Really glad I was able to watch that on replay without the spoilers. Sometimes when I watch games on replay, I accidentally open my phone and I get spoiled, but this one was fine. But yeah, so one of the highlights from the Cavaliers game would be this one right here. Let's take a look.
That on his fist, back in by Strus, got a bounce. Only Jokic back in the lineup. Nuggets, I guess, nursing a 20-point lead. Pick and roll. Oh, gosh!
Feet left a little.
Here's Joker spinning. Allen. 4 in another. 4. I'm sorry, 14. I saw 4 in another category. Oh, yeah!
Okay, so you can see that first pass that he had to Peyton Watson. That was filthy. And then this pass is even better.
I'm sorry.
Let's see. Yeah, KCP comes over. He kind of like fakes the screen and baits the defender right here. And then from here, I mean, Allen is too focused on Jokic right here. And Garland, I mean, he could be in a spot to contest this, but the problem is that he could leave Peyton Watson because he's in the dunker spot right here. And then this is just a dirty behind the back pass. Like, ooh. Ooh. That's brutal. Next game after this one was a lot of fun as well. This was a duel between the best player in the league and maybe the future best player in the league, in Victor Wembanyama. He had an amazing rookie season, and we'll actually talk about him a little more. But I got to talk about him in this game too. Shooting-wise, was a disaster for Wemby. Every other aspect of this game, he was great. Just fantastic. 9 for 29, 2 of 11 from 3. That's bad. That's really bad. But you look at his box score, and it was worldly, excuse me. Finished with 23 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, and 9 blocks. He was 2 assists and a block away from a quadruple double, which I don't think has happened in the league in over 20 years. I could be wrong on that. But Wembanyama, I mean, this was definitely like he had a great game, and it could have been better. Like, it really could have been better. He was shooting a lot of contested jump shots. The Spurs, I mean, obviously Greg Popovich, their coach, is arguably the greatest coach of all time. But, you know, they are a very young team, and that you could really tell in some aspects of this game in particular. But they made it close, and, you know, Wembanyama was really good. And this guy, Malachi Branham, I've never even heard of him before, but he shot really well from the field as well. And, you know, they were short-handed, but they still gave us a run for our money in Denver. This was a classic game from Jokic. He definitely shot a lot of shots in this game, more than he probably would like to, but we needed it in the end. Gordon was fantastic. I don't think I had mentioned him in the last couple games before this, but he was great. Jokic was very dominant. I mean, Wembanyama has easily been one of the best defenders in the league this year, and Jokic just doesn't really care about that for the most part. I mean, he finished with 42 points and 16 rebounds. A pretty modest assist total from him, but, you know, it still got the job done, so no big deal at all. There's actually a clip that I'll show about Jokic and Wemby when they kind of had a little sequence together in the game, and I think you guys will find it really entertaining. And then another highlight I wanted to show was this sequence between Wembanyama and Jokic. This was awesome.
Wemby after it, no, put it up and in, yes. Jokic is out on the break, here he comes. Oh, he rams it home. Take that!
Well, he tried to soft layup the time before, and he didn't mess around that one.
Au revoir, Wemby.
You're going to try to block this, or you're going to have to get it quicker.
Well, Jokic, 10 points, 6 rebounds.
Yeah, so they had a play right before this where Wembanyama actually blocked Jokic, and Jokic came running down the court. I mean, if you know anything about this guy, you know he doesn't dunk very often, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to dunk on you this time. Make sure you can't block it. And they had a little bit of a laugh after. You can see Jokic is pretty visibly happy here. Anyway, moving on. Next game after that, we played the Clippers. This was a game I had the privilege of watching with my friends at Buffalo Wild Wings. Jokic was, as per usual, fantastic, but just not quite enough to get the job done. Clippers were missing Kawhi Leonard in this game, but they were still able to pull it out. Super close game. Zubats played very well against Jokic, all things considered. He did have 15 rebounds, which was really big in the end. Jokic had a monster 36, 17, and 10, but it wasn't quite enough. Reggie Jackson, again, wasn't that great, but, you know, not that big of a deal, in my opinion. We just barely lost to the Clippers. You know, the Clippers kind of pulled ahead. Actually, and the Nuggets were up by like 17 in the first quarter, and then from there it was kind of just the Clippers' game to lose. It was a strange game. Anyway, a game after this, we played the Hawks at home, and they got wrecked. Jamal Murray came back in this game, and, you know, this was a pretty modest game from everybody, scoring-wise. It was more of just these are like the best type of team games, is when everybody scores like between like 15 to like 25, and it's unstoppable sometimes. Peyton Watson was fantastic in this game. 6 for 8 from the field, including 5 blocks, 13 points, 6 rebounds. Reggie Jackson was really good off the bench. Murray did not play much in this game because it was such a blowout against the Hawks. So they had him on a minutes restriction. He still had 16 points in about 21 minutes, though, which is, you know, that's pretty good. KCP was big. He's just had like random games this year where he just scores like 6 threes, and it's really cool. Jokic, you know, pretty modest game for him, all things considered. 19, 14, and 11. crazy how that's like modest for him. And Porter had a good game as well. Did not have Aaron Gordon in this game, but did not matter. The Hawks, I mean, they were undermanned, but yeah, I mean, they had most of their starters. This was before Trae Young came back, but you know, they just got wrecked. Game after this, Tuesday, April 9th. I actually went to this game, and I will put a picture of me and my friends who were at the game up during this part. But this was a great game. The Nuggets just played really solidly. Jokic had 28. Murray had 28. Murray actually blew this game wide open in the fourth quarter, because we started the game very well, and then Utah kind of made a comeback and made it closer towards halftime, especially in the third quarter. Halfway through the fourth quarter, Murray just decided to go nuts. He hit like 3 threes in a row and basically just like put the game away. We went up by like 15 after only being up by like, I think 6 or 7 for most of the game. Really fun time down in a Delta Center. That's right. It was Delta Center a long time ago, and then it was Vivint Arena, and now it's Delta Center again. But great environment for a basketball game. All the Jazz fans that I've met are actually pretty cool. And that crowd gets really loud in the fourth quarter when Chick-fil-A is on the line. But yeah, super good experience. A lot of Nuggets fans there too. Had a really good time with that, driving down. And yeah, I mean, Utah was their team was very beat up, but you know, we had no excuse to lose this game. We had to win this game when the first seed was in contention. Talen Horton-Tucker, who is a veteran at this point, came in off the bench, and this guy was really good, minus the fourth quarter. He kind of cooled off, but he had one heck of a first half for sure. But yeah, shout out to the Jazz. Always a fun time. I'm happy that the Nuggets finally won there, because they haven't won in Utah since 2020. I'd seen that this is the third time I've seen them in Utah now, and they like lost the first 2. I'm just like, guys, what the heck? But yeah, this was probably at the time, this was the most important game of the season for us. This was one fun game. We had Jamal Murray back. Minnesota was still without Karl Anthony Towns. But this game was really close until we just blew it open in the fourth quarter. The 9 points is a little misleading. I think we were up by almost 20 in the fourth quarter. But yeah, super, super fun game to watch. Ant-Man had a decent game, but probably less effective than he wanted to be. Mike Conley, again, was really good. I think he's like 36 years old, and he's still playing at a high level. That's great. You know, people only thought LeBron could do that, but a bunch of guys can. Naz Reid, who I'll talk about in a little bit, was really solid as well. He was starting for Karl Anthony Towns. But yeah, this game was about the Nuggets. Jamal Murray, again, didn't play too many minutes, but he played enough where he was very impactful. 20 minutes. Jokic had a stupidly good game. 41 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals off of 80% shooting from the field. Yikes. He actually went to the free throw line quite a bit, but kind of struggled from the free throw line. Ironically, he missed more free throws than he did shots, which is very uncommon. But yeah, Porter was great in this game, and the box score doesn't say it, but the clip I'm going to show you does. The bench was huge in this game, particularly Peyton Watson and Christian Brown. Christian Brown finished with a very modest 8 points, 5 rebounds, and then 1-1-1 in terms of block, assists, and steals. Peyton Watson was a force on defense. 6 blocks in this game. He actually had a stretch over this game and the last 2 games where he had 13 blocks over 3 games, which is just incredible. He's been such a great bench piece for us this season. I just hope that he can have a little more offensive success, because we all know he's a great defender. But yeah, this game was awesome. there was a few plays in this game that was just fantastic to watch. I'm gonna play them right here.
He's passed there, Gobert to McDaniel.
Jokic has 36 points, backdoor feed, and it's Brown. A high flyer gets the slam and a foul. 7th assist for Jokic.
He's telling these guys, we got to work through this stuff. We got to learn how to score at the end of the break. Where we're going to go, what we're going to do, what we're going to go with. Still a lot of time here, and Minnesota's got to get stops, not foul, Denver being in the bonus, and maybe get out on a break.
Meanwhile, Christian Brown switching hands in midair, flushing it with the left hand. His teammates are hysterical with enjoyment over that dunk. Now a miss by Edwards. Denver again in transition. Oh yeah! Why not?
The Nuggets win a championship last year. That's
turnover. Here comes a highlight. Oh boy, Watson with the exclamation point.
So you can tell there was excitement in the building when we were playing Minnesota. Christian Brown with 3 dunk highlights in a row, including one where he just straight up, he had an incredible pass from Jokic, but one when he just straight up challenged Rudy Gobert, who most likely will win Defensive Player of the Year. And then actually, as you can see here, he goes from his right hand to his left hand and dunks on the 7'2" Rudy Gobert. Really good stuff. The crowd was getting so hype in this game. You could tell on this play right here, Porter coming up the court. Michael Porter Jr. Michael Black Hole doesn't swing the rock. Born to shoot Porter Jr. throws up an alley-oop to Christian Brown, and the crowd was on fire. I mean, you could see him back there. They're going nuts. And then this next play, like this was like the exclamation point. This was the end of the game right here. Peyton Watson gets his 6th block of the night. I think it's Naz Reid. Yeah, he goes over the screen right here. And then Jamal Murray just does a crazy, like, over-the-head pass, and Watson just flushes it home. It was awesome.
The Nuggets win a championship last year. That's
turnover. Here comes a highlight.
Oh, boy, Watson. Yeah, that game was awesome. And with this game, we actually passed the Timberwolves in the standings and had control of our own destiny for first place until the next game. And this was probably the most depressing loss we've had of the season. Up by 23 against the Spurs. I was actually in a different state at one of my friends' weddings while this game was going on, and I had the game accidentally spoiled to me, and I was not happy about it. Because I didn't really see what happened until I got back home. But, man, I watched it all a couple nights ago, and, geez, this game was frustrating. It seems like the Nuggets just really let their foot off the gas pedal, and San Antonio got back in the game. Wembanyama had a really good game, 34 points, 12 rebounds, a couple blocks as well. He wasn't the most efficient shooting and did have quite a few turnovers, but, it was still a really good effort. Devontae Graham actually was the one who hit the go-ahead shot with about 4.5 seconds left. Put him up by 1. Kind of just want to gloss over this because it's painful to talk about, but Jamal Murray was great in this game. He seemed like the only one that had a sense of urgency. I don't really know what to make of like what Jokic and the other starters were up to, because we had all of our starters out there, but I don't know. They just got back in the game, and a loss like this, you just got to move past. It's certainly a bad loss, because the Spurs are last in the West, but yeah. Last game of the season, Sunday. Not much to say about this. Another balanced attack from the guys. Jokic, only played like half an hour. Most of the starters only played 24 minutes because this game was pretty much over. Nobody really popped off. It was just a solid team performance. Christian Brown was great off the bench. He's been a lot better lately. He really has fixed his shooting this season, and he looks a lot more confident shooting from three. Really good to see that because he's such an energetic player that we have. He's a really good defender, high flyer, but his where he was lacking was definitely shooting, and he's fixed that quite a bit. Memphis is the most beat up team in the league this year. They did have a bright spot, I thought. Gigi Jackson, who is the youngest player in the league at 19 years old in a couple months, I think. He had a really good performance. They let him shoot the ball 36 times, but he did tie a career high, and I'm interested to see if they're going to keep him going forward. I really think they should and give him a fair chance again, but we'll see. All right, moving on to one of my last segments I'll talk about. Just some regular season awards that I want to go over. I obviously don't have a vote in the system. I'm just a guy making podcasts about my favorite team, but it's still something that I think about. Who would I have as MVP? Who's on my defensive player of the year watch? Who's on the all NBA first, second, and third team? So I'm going to go over my official NBA 2023-2024 regular season awards. First, probably the most controversial award this year, at least, MVP. I got basic stats up. These are obviously not everything that factors into how I decide MVP, but I've been wrestling with myself the last couple days because I really want to give it to Luka, but I'm gonna give it to Jokic. He's just been the best player in the league this year. Again, definitely my previous years have not impacted how I think about it at all, but I thought Jokic should have got it last year. And this is definitely not me giving a sympathy vote, but I truly think that he's just been the best player. He's the most efficient player in the league. He's arguably the best offensive player. I would also give that to Luka. The team just does not look nearly as well without him as they do with him. With him, they're the best team in the league. Without him, they really struggle and are probably a lottery team. I can't necessarily, and I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I can't necessarily say that about Luka. His stats are amazing, all-time great, amazing season he just had. But in terms of his actual impact and value, it's not. It's just not. He wasn't as valuable as Jokic, even though his stats were better, I'd say. Oftentimes, too, I take into who they played with. Jamal Murray missed 23 games this season. However, Kyrie missed 24 games. So they both played without their second star frequently. I believe the Mavericks had a better record without Kyrie as opposed to the Nuggets without Jamal Murray. But, it sucks because I know Luka is definitely the people's champ this year. But I think Jokic deserves it. And honestly, all three of these guys, I haven't even talked about Shea, but all three of these guys are very deserving of the award. And if somehow it was given to Luka, I wouldn't even be upset. Last year Embiid got it, and I wasn't upset about it, but it was more just I kind of didn't understand why they voted for Jokic in the years prior, but now Embiid. But yeah, amazing year for Luka, amazing year for Jokic. I think another part of it too, I don't necessarily agree with the final team standings in that much of a role, but it is noted that the Jokic and Shea did finish top 2 in the West, and Luka finished 5th. Not to say that he's less deserving, but that it is you can't, if you're a play-in team. My thing about it is that if Luka could manage to get out of the play-in, that I would think he's a serious MVP contender, and he did that. He was able to do that. And he had a great season, and he's I mean, he's an amazing player. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs. But yeah, I think Jokic is a generational dominant player, and we're gonna look back at these last couple years and a couple years from now, and we're gonna say, man, like Jokic was the guy, you know. Shea had a great year as well, but I heard some real clown takes today, some real tomfoolery. I watch ESPN on YouTube sometimes. Same with TNT. I watch a couple different shows. Not all the time, but sometimes I like to see what they say. Stephen A. Smith he's lost his mind. He's off his rocker even. Him and Kendrick Perkins, who by the way, both notorious Jokic haters. I think they hate. Well, I mean, they hate Luka too. They both said today that Shea is the clear front runner for MVP, and that's just false. I mean, if you want to say he's top 3, obviously I do. If you want to say he's top 2, okay. I mean, if you want to say he'd win, you know, sure. I mean, he has a great case for it, but clear front runner, that's ridiculous. Definitely not. They just do not. It just seems like they don't watch basketball. I know he has 50, 30-point games, and I know that the Oklahoma City Thunder went from 10th in the West last season to 1st. But, like, I mean, I'm sorry. I just don't. He's just not more valuable than Luka or Jokic this season. And no disrespect to him. He had a great year. But, yeah. So, that's my pick for MVP. Jokic, and he's probably going to win it. There's been some early ballots coming in, and I think of the 14 that I saw, all but 3 of them had Jokic as their first place MVP finisher. Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins, whatever intoxicating hallucinatory drugs they're taking, to where they can't even look at the other 2 guys. They're like, oh no, Shea. I don't know what they're on, but you know, apparently according to them it's not close. So I think this is one of the closest MVP races ever, between these 3 guys. And then, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Giannis, who would probably be my 4th pick. And then Embiid, if Embiid didn't get hurt, he might be winning MVP right now. I don't know. So, you know, Embiid was having an amazing season, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, I've seen a lot of disgusting things over the last couple weeks just about this, you know, just like fan bases attacking each other, and I really do not like the toxicity. The NBA is also, like, the fans are always going to be toxic, but like it seems like a little much lately. Like, just if you're a Nuggets fan and you defend Jokic, then you're looking at a spreadsheet and like all these advanced metrics and the whole kitchen sink thing. I don't and then, you know, if you're a Mavericks fan, you dismiss everybody else and you like, oh yeah, Luka, he's so much better than everyone else, you know. So I'm just happy that it's coming to a close soon. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say that Luka is going to get robbed, but like, there's always been a history of players getting robbed. This is nothing new. Jokic got robbed last year. Obviously, these are all in air quotes because, you know, it's my opinion. Kobe Bryant got robbed in 2007 for Steve Nash. LeBron James has got robbed multiple occasions. You know, it's just, it's subjective. It's how it is. But yeah, next award, Rookie of the Year. This one's pretty easy. Don't think about it too much. Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs has been fantastic. I put him in my top 25 NBA players back when I made that a couple months ago. I think he might honestly be higher than that now. He might be top 20. Maybe. But he's definitely on the come up. Like, next season, watch out for this guy. 7'4", rookie from France. They nicknamed him the Alien. I mean, there's a lot to say about him, but a lot has been said as well. Great defender, really good the overall player. He has the length to make anything possible. 21.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.5 blocks per game, leading the league in blocks. Good stuff from Wemby. Second place, this was a lot closer at the beginning of the season between him and Chet Holmgren. But Chet had a really good rookie year. Like, don't get me wrong, this second place finish from Chet is nothing but respect. But the issue is that Wembanyama had like a generational rookie season. You know, like, I wouldn't say he's the best rookie ever, but he's up there for sure. Like, he's probably top 5 rookie season of all time. And then Chet, you know, he had a good season as well. 16.5 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 blocks. But, you know, just obviously his team is a lot better than Wemby's, but I don't think Rookie of the Year obviously that should not impact it at all, because, you know, the best rookies are usually on the worst teams. All right, next we got Defensive Player of the Year. This one's close as well. Rudy Gobert, I'm going to go from Minnesota. He's been the anchor of the best defense all season. His stats are, I'd say, a little inferior to Wemby's. But, you know, these aren't like the crazy stats. These are just like the normal stats, you know. In basketball, there's a lot of stats. There's a lot of crazy stuff. But, yeah. Wembanyama, I mean, he's an amazing defender as well. But, I mean, Jokic dropped 40 on both of them last week. But, sorry, little nuggets. I got to put that in there sometimes. But, you know, Gobert, I mean, he has the best defensive rating of any player in the league who plays more than 4 minutes a game. 104.4 defensive rating, and what that means is that's how many points allowed while he's on the court per 100 possessions. So that's kind of the simplest way I can put it. But it's basically how many points the other team scores while he's out there, essentially. And 104.4 is the lowest in the league, which in this case is good. Lower defensive rating is better, and higher offensive rating is better. And that's just how that works. Wembanyama, also, I mean, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, or that'd be probably the biggest snub of all time. But he had an amazing defensive year as well. It's a shame because the Spurs kind of suck on defense. He's just really good individually. As with Gobert, the Wolves are great on defense, and he's a big reason because of that. And I think specifically because of that, that's why he's the Defensive Player of the Year. This will be his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. It's kind of crazy to think about because a lot of people don't really think about Rudy Gobert like that, but I mean, he's one of the best defenders I've ever seen. Surely he'll be in the Hall of Fame as well, despite no real success in like the playoffs, but you know, that could change this season, who knows. All right, next we're going to talk about 6th Man of the Year. Also going to go to a Timberwolves player. That'll be Naz Reid on the left. He had a great season coming off the bench. He actually started quite a few games in place of Karl Anthony Towns and sometimes Rudy Gobert. Man, they got a lot of bigs on Minnesota. But, yeah, he had a great year. 13.5 points, 5 rebounds. Shot over 41% from 3 for a big man. I mean, that's impressive. And he's shooting like 4 or 5 threes a game. Second place, Malik Monk. He had a great season for Sacramento. It's a shame that he got hurt because I think with his input, the Kings maybe could have got out of the play-in and maybe could have been that 6th seed over maybe like the Suns or the Pelicans or you know, however it went down. But yeah, his injury kind of hit the Kings. Naz Reid only missed 1 game all year as well, played 81 games. So I'll give it to him. After this, Coach of the Year. Oh boy, I hope I'm saying his name right. Mark Darigno for the Thunder. Absolutely, Coach of the Year. They went from 40-42 last season, finishing 10th, to 57-25, which was finishing 1st. That's enough. I mean, that's a pretty clear-cut Coach of the Year. However, the other two guys on the right also had good campaigns for it as well. Jamal Mosley for the Magic finished 34 and 48 last season. They were 13th in the East. And this season, they improved that by 13 games, 47 and 35, and finished 5th. They're not even in the play-in. They're in the playoffs. So, and then my third place, Chris Finch from Minnesota. He had, I mean, these coaches all did a tremendous job this season, but I think Mark Daigneault did the best of the three. I think it's weird because this is close, but it's also kind of clear-cut in my opinion. But Chris Finch, 42 and 40 last season, finished 8th to 56 and 26 this season, 3rd. 14, they actually improved by more games than the Magic, but I kind of have Jamal Mosley ahead of him just because they went from a pretty sub 500 team. I mean, they were 13th in the East to an actual playoff team. As for the Wolves, just went from the play-in to 3rd. But yeah, good stuff from all these coaches. These are the 3 teams that nobody saw coming this year, and they're here. Next one, Executive of the Year. There is no second place for this. It is Brad Stevens for the Celtics, unanimously. He traded for Drew Holiday, and because, Drew Holiday got dealt to the Blazers in the Damian Lillard trade, and then Brad Stevens traded, who was it? It was Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams and maybe some picks for Drew Holiday, and that was a great trade for them. He also got Porzingis from Washington. Porzingis was dying down there in Washington, and he's found essentially a new life this season with the Celtics. Some people were advocating for him to be an all-star. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch, but he still had a really good season. And the Celtics, I mean, they're the best team in the league record-wise, so we're going to have to watch out for them in the playoffs. I think like a lot of people, I would love to see the Celtics in the finals against the Nuggets. I think that would be a fantastic matchup. But yeah, also, I mean, the Celtics improved by 7 games from last season. That's crazy because they won 57 games last season. Only team in the league to win 60 or more this season. Most improved player, Kobe White from the Bulls. This one's pretty close, but I give the edge to Kobe White. Unfortunately, the most improved player is kind of a strange award because it values going from a really good player to a great player more than it does going from a mediocre player to a really good player, if that makes sense. And that's exactly the example we have here. Kobe White from the Bulls went from very mediocre last season to very good for them this season. His points per game improved by almost 10. His assists went up by almost double. He's at about 5 a game. And all things considered, he was the point guard for the Bulls this season. They didn't have the greatest regular season. Zach LaVine was injured and also doesn't want to play there anymore. But Kobe White was definitely their second best player behind probably DeRozan. Yeah, and I think he made a huge leap from last year. Just watching him play is also, like, he just looks a lot more confident, a lot more clear-cut on what is going on in the game, essentially. Second place, Tyrese Maxey for the 76ers. He's had a lot to bear this season because Embiid has been out. And he made a huge improvement, too. He was really good last season, and he was great this year. Made the All-Star team. Excuse me. Big yawn coming in. But, yeah, he improved his points per game by almost 6 from 20 to 26, and also went up in assists per game from 3.5 to 6. It's crazy. As soon as James Harden was no longer with the Sixers, it just seemed like Maxey filled in immediately. And like it seemed like he was just waiting for the opportunity. And he's been steadily improving every year he's been in the league as well. So, really good for him. I think Tyrese Maxey is probably going to win it. But I hope that Kobe White can, because I think he's a little more deserving in my opinion. All right, first team All-NBA. Don't think about it too much. Luka, Jokic, Shea, Jason Tatum. Obviously, the 3 MVP candidates that I had listed. Jason Tatum, best player on the best team. And then Giannis. This one's not really hard to think about or talk about. I feel that these were the 5 best players in the league this season. If Embiid were to stay healthy, I would probably swap Tatum out. Maybe. I don't know. It's tough. Everybody, I mean, all these guys had MVP caliber seasons this season. So, second team. This one is a little more debatable for sure. So I got from the left to right, I got Jalen Brunson from the Knicks. The Knicks finished second in the East with a crucial win over the Bulls in overtime on Sunday. Brunson has been out of his mind lately. He's been putting up like 40 like every game, and that's been huge because Julius Randle has been out and will not come back this season. He has to have shoulder surgery. So shout out to Brunson. He's been crazy. Some people were debating that he should be on the first team, which I think that's a little bit of a stretch considering Giannis and Tatum also had similar, if not better, stats. But regardless, Brunson is... I watch out for the Knicks. I don't know if they're going to win the East, but I think they're very capable of at least making the Eastern Conference Finals. Next, we got Kevin Durant, KD. He's had a great year, putting up almost 28 per game. The Suns were able to avoid the play-in, which is really big because they're going to be playing the Wolves, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But yeah, really efficient from Durant. He's been great. Next, Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man, one of my favorite players to watch in the league. Maybe the most exciting player in the league right now. It's between him and Ja Morant, but Ja Morant has been out this season, so I'll give it to Ant-Man. Best player on the Wolves, putting up 26 a game, has had some fantastic highlights this season. That block, that dunk, you probably know what I'm talking about if you follow basketball. Yeah, good stuff from him. Second team deserving. Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. He's been a little hurt lately. And I actually saw a report today about inflammation in his knee. I hope that's not anything serious because I think without him, the Clippers are cooked. But amazing defender. Put up almost 24 a game this season, which I think is pretty impressive given that he has so much firepower. They got James Harden. They got Paul George. They got Norman Powell coming off the bench scoring 15. They got Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. Great season from Kawhi, for sure. Lastly, you might be noticing that the picture I've used looks a little interesting, but it's LeBron. If you know what this picture is, then you're probably between the ages of 16 to 25. But yeah, LeBron James, he's had a great year, putting up almost 26 a game, 7 rebounds and 8 assists. The dude is 39 years old, and he's just schooling people still. I give him a little more respect than I did on my best players list because I think he's been great. And the the Lakers have been good lately too. Third team, we got Steph. He's had a really good season. I say that even though, for a lot of other people it'd be a great season, but for Steph Curry it's been a little lackluster. Still really good though. Absolutely one of the most clutch players in the league this season as well. Best shooter of all time. He gets my respect. Third team. Anthony Davis in the middle. He's been great. Really healthy this season. He's definitely silenced some haters. Playing in, I think, 73 games this season. Been very healthy, been very dominant. His biggest problem is just inconsistency. Devin Booker on the right with the amazing type of like pixel gradient jersey that the Suns had. He's also been putting up 27 a game. Part of the reason why the Suns have been so good lately. well, I mean, not even so good lately, but, you know, the reason that they were able to make that final push and make it to the playoffs rather than the play-in. These two guys at the bottom, I feel, might be kind of wild cards. I'm not sure if they're going to get picked. Also, of all my first team selections, all up to this point, all but 3 of them have been from the West. That just tells you how much more stacked the West is, in my opinion. But Donovan Mitchell, he's been really good this season. Actually, I don't even know if he qualifies because he's missed quite a few games. I probably should have researched that, but I put him here because he's been really good, and the Cavaliers, I mean, they've been really good when he plays this season. Kind of struggling lately, but I hope he's back healthy for the playoffs. I kind of messed that one up. But then my last pick, Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers. I've been raving about him for most of the season. I think the work that they've been doing is incredible. Their offense is literally one of the greatest offenses of all time. And he's the assist man. I mean, I think he ended up with like 12 a game, and you know, really good stuff from him. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about before I go, because I need to go. And at this point, one of the play-in games has actually started. Oh, that's right. Lakers and Pelicans has already started. I will be watching that while this video is processing. But this is the playoff picture. I'm just going to briefly talk about the confirmed matchups we have, and then I'll go over the play-ins and what I think will happen in the play-ins. We'll get into the first round a little more with predictions probably next week. But yeah, we have the Western play-ins tonight. Pelicans and Lakers are playing right now. The Pelicans are actually up. I think the Lakers are going to win this game. And that's very important for me in particular because the winner of this game will play the Nuggets. Personally, I don't really mind who we play. If I had to choose a team, though, I'd probably go with the Lakers. They are, in my opinion, more dangerous, but we have just figured that matchup out, it seems. The Nuggets have won 8 straight against the Lakers. I mean, they were there. I mean, they were in Denver on ring night, and we beat them. We were there on Kobe's Memorial Night in February, and we beat them. We were there the night LeBron got 40,000 points, and we beat them. I mean, I'm not saying they can't take a game, but it's going to be a serious uphill battle for the Lakers. Also, real quick, some people are saying that the Lakers should intentionally lose this game to avoid the Nuggets, and I think that's a really bad idea. For a couple reasons. One, where's the integrity in that? You should play to win, always, you know? Like, these guys have been athletes their entire lives. They don't do that. They don't tank games. I mean, maybe if you're like a really bad team, you know, but like that, no, this is a game you must win. Second of all, if they lose this game, they have to play the winner of Golden State Sacramento. Golden State won their last game against the Lakers, and Sacramento has yet to lose to the Lakers this season. So you're telling me that you would have them, you think it's better for them to risk a best of one where they could lose and go home against 2 teams they have struggled against, and then play the Thunder in the first round because they would be the 8 seed, than to just win the game and play the Nuggets? I mean, I don't know. You win this game. Because if you're the Lakers, you want the Nuggets, right? You want the revenge, you know, and you're probably going to have to play them anyway at some time. So why not play them when presumably Anthony Davis and LeBron James are rested to an extent? I don't know. Kind of weird. But other play-in game tonight, we got Kings-Warriors. I honestly don't know who's going to win this game. It's in Sacramento. But the problem is that they played a 7-game series last season, and Steph Curry dropped 50 in that game 7. That was incredible. But I want to believe in the Kings, but they also don't have Malik Monk. I'm going to go with the Warriors. I think the Warriors win, and I think the Lakers win. And then in that play-in game between the Warriors and Pelicans, I am actually going to go with the Pelicans. I think that Zion is going to pop off in this game. I think he has a matchup advantage on the Warriors. They're not a team with a lot of size, and he's very athletic for his. But there's always the Steph Curry factor. I will admit, though, I think a Warriors-Thunder series would be awesome. That would be a very scary 1-8 series if you're a Thunder fan. But, yeah, so I think Thunder will play the Pelicans, and then Nuggets will play the Lakers. Other Western matchups, depending on Kawhi Leonard's health for the Clippers, that's going to be huge because I think this series is going to go 7 if he's healthy. If he's not, I could see the Mavericks winning relatively early because they've just been so hot lately. And then this series is very intriguing to me, Timberwolves-Suns, because the Suns have not lost to the Timberwolves this season despite being, the lower seed. And they just beat them on Sunday convincingly. The Timberwolves had something to play for in that game. They could have played for the 2 seed and avoided the Suns, but they lost that game by like 20 or something. So this could be an upset alert coming in. If I was the Timberwolves, I'd be worried. I wouldn't be shaking in my boots, but I'd be a little concerned. All right, over to the East. Not nearly as exciting in my opinion. Bulls, Hawks. I honestly don't care who wins this game because I don't think either of these teams will be in the playoff. I'll just say the Bulls will win because they got Kobe White, and he's my most improved player. 76ers Heat. This could go either way. I know the Heat have kind of had an advantage recently against Embiid. I know he didn't play in the last regular season game as well, just so they could keep him healthy. But this game is going to be big because this is the difference between playing the Knicks and the Celtics. And I would much rather play the Knicks because the Knicks are a very good team. They're very well coached. Brunson has been great, but they are injured as well. And I think that there could be a high potential in an upset coming from the winner of this game to the Knicks. I'm going to go with the 76ers. I think Embiid will be the factor, and they'll win the game, so they'll match up with the Knicks. And then the Heat will play the Bulls, and I think the Heat will win, and they'll be the 8 seed against the Celtics, which is really scary if you're the Celtics because there's always the Heat factor. They made the finals last season as an 8 seed and beat the Celtics, so we'll see how that goes down. Pacers Bucks. This is both 3-6 matchups in the West and East are very. There could be an upset for sure. The Pacers won the season series against the Bucks 4-1. They played each other 5 times, and it looked convincing in the wins that the Pacers were getting. And on top of it, Giannis might not be back. I mean, they weren't beating the Pacers with Giannis. I don't know if they're going to beat them without Giannis. It's going to be tough. I hope he can get back quickly, but this will be something to watch as well. I think not the highest chance, but moderate chance that both the Suns and the Pacers end up winning their series. And then Cavaliers Magic. This is a real series for the sickos out there. I'm so sorry I'm not excited about this playoff series at all. They're both very good defensive teams, but there's just I just don't care. I think the Cavaliers are going to win based off of 2 things. If Donovan Mitchell is healthy and if, the other one's not an if. It's if Donovan Mitchell is healthy and based off they have slightly more playoff experience than the Magic. They were the 4 seed last year and they got punked by the Knicks, but I think that they can make it up this season and get a playoff win, which they so desperately need because I constantly hear things about how the Cavaliers are it's weird because they're a good team, but they're also in a state of uncertainty right now. But yeah, that's my play-in predictions and thoughts on the first round. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I definitely rambled in this quite a bit. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs. We're going to see the Nuggets in action this upcoming Saturday. And yeah, this has been another episode with Rockin with the Brocklin. Thanks so much for tuning in.